Welcome to The Real Tea. I'm your host, Tammy Murphy, broker-owner of RH2L, bringing Miami Valley real homes to love.
And I'm Ellie Sollenberger to give my perspective as a home buyer.
We're going to give you the key to Miami Valley real estate. We certainly appreciate you coming in today. I want to make sure we grab a couple more things before you get out of here.
Good. I got all the time in the world.
Let's talk about the scams because it's a big thing in real estate. And I know that there is the recorder's office who's put out some footage on making sure people do not fall victim to a quick claim deed title scam or anything like that goes on. We talked about go for it.
Perfect. So this is a really, really big deal in Montgomery County right now, frankly across the state, but it's a big deal in Montgomery County because, and especially in the city of Dayton, because as you know, everybody knows the population of the city of Dayton used to be exponentially higher than it was decades ago. And when those folks left, it's not like the houses just disappeared. They stayed. And so you have, in post-industrial communities, you have this a lot where you have all of a sudden more houses than people, in some blocks or zip codes or cities or parts of towns. And so, with abandoned properties also comes a heightened, more vulnerable area for scams and things. Because if you don't have somebody, watching that property every second, that leads to scams. So there are a couple of things that folks can do right now to really help themselves and to protect themselves. So the recorder's office, Montgomery County Recorder Stacey Benson Taylor, she kept a program that was instituted by her predecessor, Brandon McLean, called the FAN system, F-A-N, Fraud Alert Notification System. Free system. I myself signed up for it. You can go onto the recorder's website, put in your email address, your address, and then anytime something is recorded in the county building on that property, whether it's a deed transfer, including fraudulent ones or legitimate ones, liens, lien releases, mortgage releases, mechanics liens, anything, you will be notified by email so that you could very quickly find out that you may have had something fraudulently recorded on your property. So do that. Go on the recorder's website, mcrecorder.org, I think it is, and look at the FAN notification system and sign up today. And you can also sign up, if you have elderly parents or something, do that for them too. You can even have the emails come to you. Another thing that is really important, I know the county auditor just launched this as well, is the what's it called? Buy with Confidence program, I think it is, where folks can it's kind of a one-stop shop to take a look at a property to make sure that there aren't different types of things that you may not want on the property or may not expect, like delinquent taxes and others. He's actually the keeper of the tax roll.
Right.
So that information is kind of based on, and I'm the collector. I collect what is certified to me by the auditor. But he's the keeper of the tax roll, including what may be owed on a property. So he's launched that as well. It's really affected the immigrant community as well. So those two programs, go on there and do, because a recorder, and the recorders are trying to get this passed in Columbus, but recorders right now, they're hamstrung. If somebody walks into a county building, into a recorder's office and says, I am here to record this, and it has a valid notary, recorders are required to take it.
Right. And it's just like we don't question authenticity of documents that are presented to us. If somebody gives me a fake ID, I don't have any idea that it's a fake ID, right?
Absolutely.
But as a notary, you wonder if there isn't a higher level that's determined there, but we know that there is notaries who've been involved in the scam. They have been involved.
There are corrupt notaries. There are also people who are not notaries at all who buy a notary stamp on Google and just stamp it and sign it, and then you can never get a hold of them.
And you don't know that that's not legitimate as the county recorder's office.
That's right.
So this document gets filed, and if nobody has the FAN alert set or pays attention or makes the phone call, time passes, and people are finding out about this when they go to sell their house, that they no longer own this house.
Bingo.
Right? that's when there's a problem. It's too late.
It's fascinating, and it's fascinatingly sad. But there are real situations, and I'll tell you this. I'll try and make it quick. I know you said you normally stick to 20. We're at 40 minutes, everybody. So
this will be 2 shows.
Yeah, this is good. But there was a recent case where, and think about this. There was a property who was legitimately owned by an individual. It was a bona fide purchaser. Then the deed gets stolen, right? Somebody came into the recorder's office and faked a deed. Now all of a sudden this scammer owned the property on paper, sold it then to a new buyer, let's just say Ellie. She was a bona fide purchaser. She had no idea that it was a scam. So now you have 2 bona fide purchasers. So now you have courts having to say, oh my gosh, well, I think Ellie should get the property because she's put a lot of money into it since she bought it, even though she bought it after a scam. But Ellie, actually, we're going to look at the equity, and Ellie's actually going to have to pay the first bona fide purchaser some money that the court thinks is fair. That's what we're getting into now. And so protect yourself. Sign up for FAN.
News alert there. Also, title insurance. We got a title person who's going to come in, and she's going to talk about that, because when you have that situation, title insurance is the buffer that's going to come in there and help the person.
Bingo.
Help solve it and make it better.
And just do everything above board. If it looks too good, if it looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Yeah.
Don't buy properties off of Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Don't buy properties off of Craigslist. And if you do, make sure you have the best realtor and title agent you could possibly imagine.
Well, and to that point, do we say don't buy a house sight unseen? We've had this conversation with as quickly as the market is moving, we may have somebody who is truly an out-of-state, as you said, a bona fide buyer out of state who's coming here. They're limited on time. They may not physically see it, but please use a service of somebody that is here.
Please.
That realtor who's your eyes and ears on the ground, who will walk through, do a preview, whatever it takes, so that you know that there is. And I've had those situations, and people did not realize, this is going back a way. A client in California called me, wanted to sell his property. He'd never stepped foot in it. And when I go in there, I'm like, and you paid what for this property?
Right.
Like, it's legitimate. This should have been a tear down. That was like, if you paid $5,000, you paid way too much.
You just lost $5,000.
And he was just blown away, and he was kicking himself that he didn't make a phone call to somebody in advance of buying the property. And it's like, it's a small fee to pay to have somebody do their due diligence for you.
It is. I'll give you one even better. We had a call about a year ago. Somebody bought a house sight unseen. They show up, and the damn thing had been demolished. There was no house because they bought it sight unseen. They looked on Google Images, and the Google truck only moves around every
couple of
every
years
now and
or
then.
something. Yeah.
There was no house.
So it was vacant land.
Vacant land.
And they actually could have seen that.
Yes.
If they would have just done a little bit of work.
Yes. But it was like a Facebook Marketplace thing.
Yeah.
And said, here, buy this address. They looked it up, and there was no house.
Wow.
Do your due diligence. Just find somebody. Get them to drive by. See if there's a roof still.
Exactly.
Or if there's a house there.
Right.
If it's boarded up, something. If you're that hard off. But please work with it if you can afford it. And everybody should be able to. I mean, if you're buying a house, you need to be able. You need a title agent. You need a realtor.
For sure.
In today's market.
I'm going to say yes, of course. But I'll also plug you and say yes. Let's call the county office and talk to them.
We want to help you.
So something that is kind of tied to properties and the treasurer. I know one of your passions is financial literacy.
Yes.
So can you talk about that and what you do in the community?
Absolutely. And this is something we love to do. And not only do we do financial literacy for adults, but also for kids. We'll work with different financial institutions who have a number of different tools for financial literacy. There's some great programs out there. And if we get a request to come out and speak to a group, or whether it's adults or do something interactive with kids, we will do that. And we come out there. We provide everything. You don't pay a dime, and we'll work with people because that is something I firmly believe in. My father actually he still is a financial advisor for 30 years, and I grew up with that understanding that you really needed to know about money. And there are folks who, let's not even talk about kids, full-grown adults,
right,
that God bless them, somebody did them wrong,
right,
in not giving them the education they needed about money before they got to adulthood.
Right.
And so I view that as part of my role. One of the things that I think is great about being an elected official is, there are some things that you are required by law to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some things that you can choose to do. And so does it say in state law that treasurers have to be, out there promoting financial literacy? No, it does not. But do I think it's really important for this community? Absolutely, I do. So it's something I'd love to do. And you can request on our website. I can't remember the exact place on the website, but there's a place to request us to come out and do financial literacy.
Awesome.
And I hope people will take advantage of that.
We'll surely look that up and put that in
Good.
our description
There
so
you
they
go.
can do that. I think that's amazing. I think what brings us together is the passion that we have for the experiences that we've shared. And
Yes.
when we find that passion in somebody else for what they do, the service that they're bringing, that is just really a remarkable thing. So we really appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
And all that you're doing in your work and all
Right
that
back
you're
at
doing
you.
in the community itself and everything.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much for coming out today. We appreciate it. I could think of 1,000 more questions.
I'll come
but
back. This is fun. I like this.
Let's see if our viewers will go ahead and give us some questions and maybe some things that they want to hear us specifically talk about. And then
Excellent.
we'll put you back in the hot seat.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to coming back, and this has really meant a lot. And thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about what the Treasurer's Office does and what's important to us. And keep up the great work to both of you. I've watched a couple of your episodes, and they're really great. So
Awesome.
Thanks.
keep it up. Great job.
So at the end of every episode,
Yes.
we have our person give a tip to our viewers.
Ooh.
So what would be your tip today?
My tip would be genuinely to go on. I do this every single day just because I like to know what's going on out there. But go to the recorder's website. Go to my website as the county treasurer. Go to the county auditor's website. And go to the clerk of court's website and put in your information. Look yourself up by name or by address and see what is attached to your name or your company in the public record.
Okay, I'm going to put a disclaimer here because I told a client once to do that, and I was using my home as an example, and I found out there was a registered sex offender to me that I did not know about. So you do not know what you're going to find
You don't know.
or the battle that then will ensue.
Right.
But yes, it is a good idea.
Right. Well, do you remember when Google was first getting started? And so I remember somebody asked John Kerry, who was running for president at the time, and somebody said, "Senator Kerry, do you ever Google yourself?" And he said, "What?" And no one really quite knew enough about Google. And it's the same with the public record. I got something beeping at me. But it is, go onto these public databases and Google yourself.
Right.
Like look up your name and your address on these public databases and see what is attached to your, to your specific circumstances. It's really, really important.
Absolutely. Because again, things can happen electronically without the formal notification that people are used to watching for.
Right.
You may not get a registered letter. You may not read the newspaper or electronic version of a newspaper public announcement or anything like that. So these things can happen.
Yes.
So just doing that as even a periodically, once a
Yes.
quarter, twice a year is a good idea.
Absolutely. There are people all the time who owe money, frankly. Certificates of judgment are filed. Me and Ellie both worked at the county court, and there are folks out there who think, "Oh, I don't have this bill," and all of a sudden they get hit with a certificate of judgment, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I owe $600 or $800." You want to take care of that,
Right.
And they may have an address that's old for you. That's just one of many examples. Not even to mention things that may have been fraudulently filed on your property.
Right.
So you want to find out, about your record in the public record.
So Google yourself.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today.
It has
Yeah,
been
thanks.
wonderful. Thank you both. Would love to come back and get more in depth if we didn't scratch as much of the surface as we needed to scratch today.
We've got still more topics I'm sure we'll cover.
I would love to.
Sounds
Thanks
great.
everybody
Thank
for
you.
tuning in.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us today on the Realty Podcast. If you enjoyed the knowledge and entertainment today, please subscribe and share with your friends. We will be embarking on a journey that bridges the gap between realtors and clients, uncovering the heart and tea of real estate.